On our first session, the therapist asked us to say something true that we hadn't said out loud in a while. Lena didn't wait. "Openness is trust," she said. "Crossed legs swinging like a metronome, blazer too sharp for a Tuesday evening in a room with a ficus. We can't cling to old rules if our marriage is going to breathe." 3 days later, her friend slept over after a concert. It was the way she said "friend" that bruised me. The italic I heard, and she pretended she hadn't meant. I lay awake and listened to a second toothbrush knock against the porcelain and told myself I was modern, which, I learned, is just a different word for quiet. Seattle does this thing in March, where it can't decide if the world is a sink or a garden. I walked to our Capitol Hill apartment from my barista shift in a drizzle that felt like standing downwind of a waterfall. Our front window looked over a yoga studio and an alley with a mural of a salmon that seems to swim when headlights glide past at dusk. Inside, the air smelled like shampoo and last night's perfume, two notes that never used to overlap. "Hey," Lena said from the couch, laptop open, Slack pinging like a sparrow hopped inside. "Hey," I said, setting my bike helmet by the door. "How was the concert?" She didn't look up. "Loud," she said, cathartic. "Glad your friend made it home okay," I said, pretending the word didn't have teeth. She finally looked over, eyebrows raised. "He crashed here," she said. "It was late. Buses stopped. I thought we said we were doing this." "Openness," she said the last word like a slogan. The therapist. Her name is Maya, and she arranges her pens by color in the first 5 minutes of every session, had asked us to define terms the way you label ingredients so nobody dies. "What do you mean by openness?" she'd asked. "Are we talking play, polyamory, non-monogamy with boundaries? Words matter." "I mean trust," Lena had said. "Adapting." "What do you mean?" Maya had asked me. "I mean I love my wife," I said. And Maya smiled like I'd answered a different question in a way that told her what she needed to know. That first week, Lena's Slack status was a rotating carousel. On a call. In a sprint. Hacking. Meanwhile, her Instagram story lit with a hotel bar in Belltown. The kind that serves drinks with artisanal ice and names that sound like short stories. I slid my phone into my pocket like it had cut me. I'm a barista and an illustrator. I live by the timer and the line. I like knowing what 20 seconds feels like in my bones. Time matters. Watching a little green dot on Slack say she was in a stand-up at 9042, while the hotel's location tag said 9044 on a video of a Negroni made me feel like bench seating that somebody had scooted 1 inch away from the wall. I didn't say anything that night. I made pasta, 2 bowls, put the Parmesan out like we were who we were. Lena came home with the wristband you get at the Showbox or Numos, neon paper, black numbers. She washed her hands and left it by the sink like a breadcrumb. "What are you doing?" she asked when she saw me looking at it. "Counting," I said. "Counting what?" she asked, laughing. "Time," I said. "Hours between words and where they go when you don't look." She kissed my cheek. "You always make things into poems," she said. "That's your charm and your problem." I wanted to be charming. I wanted not to be a problem. This is how people agree to a thing that hurts and call it growth. Our fights used to be about dishes, or whether it's a good idea to put a space heater near a curtain. Now they lived in sentences like emotional labor and attachment style. Lena is a project manager at a startup that sells software that makes other software go faster. Her world is sprints and burn-down charts and retrospectives where you point at what worked and what gave you blisters. She started bringing that language home after she got promoted. "We need a better process," she would say. "We need to be agile." "I have coffee," I would say, because when you don't speak a dialect, you offer the food you know. One morning, she pointed at my cup. "Do you realize you've made that into emotional cheating?" she said. "The pour-over?" I asked. "It's beans and water." "It's ritual with someone who isn't me," she said. You tell the regulars things you don't tell me. You flirt with the intimacy of being seen. I hand them caffeine, I said. If I'm cheating, it's on sleep. It's intention, she said. You turn the act into a thing. It's like you don't need me. I laughed, and she flinched at the sound. If we're counting cups, what's a wristband? I asked. That's different, she said. That was open. We tried to build a boat out of the word. We patched holes with other terms, boundaries, agreements, veto power. Every time I asked for a rule, she gave me a vibe. I just want to feel like I can breathe, she said. Me too, I said, but breathing's not a loophole. I went on one date. This is the part where people on the internet ask if I did it to get even or to check a box on a chart with columns labeled hypocrisy and fairness. The truth is duller. I was lonely, and 20 minutes after I installed an app, my phone was a party I hadn't been invited to since college. I picked someone kind, a language teacher who laughs like a piano chord. We met at a cafe in Fremont that roasts its own beans and takes itself too seriously in a way I find endearing because I am exactly the same. We talked about fonts and why people believe the Ballard Bridge hates them. We did not touch. I did not lie to anyone. When I came home, Lena was on the floor stretching, her laptop pitched toward her like a watching animal. How was your little thing? She asked, and the word little shrank me. It was a date, I said. A coffee. Words. She stood up, shook out her hair, and let the fury I'd been avoiding show its teeth. So you want me to celebrate you emotionally cheating, she said. Do I send flowers? Do I thank the other woman for fulfilling your deep and sensitive needs? You did a sleepover, I said. We agreed on lead time and check-ins. I told you in the morning that I was going to meet someone for a coffee. You could have said don't. You said I want you to grow. I wanted you to stop judging me, she said, not replicate me. We said more, and not the versions of those sentences you want framed. I'm not going to archive them here. I will say it ended with both of us staring at each other like a therapist had pressed pause and gone to get tea. At the next session, Maya didn't arrange her pens. We're losing the frame, she said. Let's get literal. You both say open and mean different things. Write your rules. Write what a check-in is. Write what off-limits looks like and what a yes looks like. Writing will slow you down enough to be honest. I don't want to calcify us, Lena said. The moment you write it, it's paper, not people. And the moment you don't, Maya said, it's vibes, not consent. I don't need a contract to know my own heart, Lena said. You need your partner to know it too, Maya said. We didn't write the rules that night. We watched 2 episodes of a show about spies and fell asleep on opposite ends of the couch. At 2 a.m., I dreamed about a gorge with a narrow footbridge and woke with my chest feeling like someone had replaced my sternum with a locked box. Here's where the tech era gives you gifts you don't want. Slack has timestamps like church bells. The hotel bar where Lena and her friends sat has an Instagram account that posts photos every night with tags that orbit a date. Our bank app records card charges like the world's most boring biography. None of those things should be more intimate than talking to the person in your kitchen. But here we were. I'm not the police, I said when I finally put it all down on paper. I'm a guy trying to know what time it is. So what? Lena said, eyes glass sharp. You're triangulating my location now? I'm triangulating my sanity, I said. At 9:43 p.m., your Slack status said, on a call. At 9:43 p.m., the bar posted a photo with you in the background with a wristband. And at 9:44 p.m., there's a charge for 2 cocktails on our card. She rolled her eyes. You're being embarrassing. I'm being married, I said. I told you I was out, she said. I told you I was open. We didn't write the rules, I said. Every time I ask, you say trust. But trust has shape. It's not fog. She stared at me. You're suffocating me, she said. You want a boundary around my breath. I want a sentence where the time and the place match, I said. The second fight was redder than the first. We bled from different places. Her wound said, I didn't sign up for a parent. Mine said, I didn't sign up for a judge. We both accused the other of mislabeling control as care. There's a perverse luxury to modern language. You can dress almost any old sin in it and make it look sheesh, Maya asked. The next week, if we'd written anything, I handed her a page. Lena handed her nothing. I don't accept your premise, Lena said. If I write it, it will be a cudgel. If you don't, Maya said, it already is. Lena folded her arms, then unfolded them, then said to Maya what she'd been dancing near for weeks. We started this because I told him I needed something to change. I said maybe we should be open. It wasn't random. I was trying to be honest. Maya nodded. When did you start wanting to be open? Lena glanced at me and then away. A while, she said. How long is a while? Maya asked. Because good therapists make time give receipts. Since last summer, Lena said softly. Maybe spring. I felt my breath go narrow. Last summer. The summer we drove to the peninsula and ate fish tacos on a beach at dusk, and she told me I was home. The summer my barista schedule changed so I could illustrate a children's book at night, and I started napping at odd hours, and she said I was distant like a city you can only see the lights of from the ferry. Is that when you met him? Maya asked gently. Lena's throat moved. Around then, she said. So before we talked about openness, I said, I put my hands on my knees to keep them from shaking, like I do when I pour latte art for someone who tells me they like their foam crunchy. It was a crush, she said quickly. We didn't do anything. Then we did a little. Then I realized I wanted to tell you, so I suggested we talk to Maya. You suggested a disclaimer, I said. You retrofitted a term to an act. She closed her eyes. I was trying to be gentle, she said. We're not our parents. We get to make the rules. We get to make them if we write them, I said. We don't get to make them after the party. The third fight felt like winter light, too bright, everything visible. I didn't shout. I didn't throw anything. I sat in the kitchen with the salmon mural pulsing in the alley, and I let my hands feel the table. Maya said people make good decisions when they can feel a surface. I'm closing the marriage, I said, quiet as a hand on a shoulder. I'm closing it by leaving it. Don't be dramatic, Lena said, and I almost laughed at the predictability. This isn't a drama, I said. It's a diagram. You want an open shape. I want a line from me to you. I don't want to draw a polygon and call it a vow. She walked to the sink and put her palms on the counter and stared at whatever stain she was pretending to examine. Why? She said, voice small. We were so good. We were, I said. I loved being your project you couldn't finish. I loved being your finished project. I loved being your person. But I hate being your proof. My proof of what? She asked. That you're modern, I said. That you aren't boring. That you can use new words to cover old wounds. That's not fair, she said. I know, I said. Marriage isn't fair. It's supposed to be kind. I rented a studio over a cafe in Fremont with stairs that complain and a window that looks down on a line that forms every Saturday. The landlord said it used to be an office for a dentist who whispered, which is the saddest detail anyone has ever told me about a stranger. The ceiling beams have nails in them like stars. I strung a line and hung my illustrations with bulldog clips and told myself calling it a studio makes it one. The first morning there, I woke to the grinder below and the scent of dark roast and thought for a second that I'd been folded into what I love. My hands twitched like they wanted to pull a shot. I made a French press and watched steam climb and felt, for the first time in months, no need to narrate my breath. Lena texted, then called, then texted. It wasn't a barrage. It was a rhythm. Can we talk? I'm at the park. I saw your latest drawing. It looks like the bridge is breathing. I didn't answer for a day. When I did, I said I would meet her at Volunteer Park under the trees that look like they were drawn by someone who loves hands. We sat on a bench and watched a kid in a cape run a loop like he was testing gravity. I messed up, she said without preamble. I know, I said. I wanted to be honest, she said. I wanted to be brave. And I was, later than I should have been. You were honest when it cost me, not you, I said, and I felt the words land without malice. Truth doesn't need the heat of rage to be warm. She nodded. I didn't want to be my mother, she said. She stayed. She turned into a story other people told. I wanted to be better than the words I grew up with. I'm not against new words, I said. I'm against old lies under new labels. She winced. That's good, she said, because we both have the bad habit of appreciating language even when it's the knife. Maya asked me, later, if I wanted to clean slate this or file papers. I want to make my own air, I said, and she circled something on her pad that looked like a cloud. The studio became a routine that didn't ask permission to be gentle. I opened the window and let Fremont shout. I drew bridges with lungs and coffee cups with anchor tattoos and people in line with tiny storms over their heads that only they could see. A small gallery on Ballard Ave hung 4 of them, and one sold to a guy who told me he used to be married to a person who spoke fluent slogan. I like that your clouds look like weather and not metaphors, he said, and I took his money and said thank you and then went home and cried in the shower because sometimes being seen irritates the scar. Lena sent a photo of a piece of paper one night. Handwritten rules. It was 2 pages of line items, small loops of her E's, an apology in ink. I read every line. I read the spaces between the lines. I texted back, "Thank you for writing this. I'm still not married to you." I pressed send and watched the message go blue and knew that love is a thing you can honor by not letting it become a museum. Pink cherry blossoms happened. The Fremont troll wore a scarf. Someone knitted in a fever. The rain did that thing where it stops on one street and keeps going on another. At the cafe below, a man started ordering a cappuccino. He called a cap like he was old friends with the drink. I sketched him. I sketched everyone. I stopped sketching Slack screens and timestamps. Lena and I signed papers on a day so clear it felt like the sky had put makeup on. We met outside the courthouse, and she wore a sweater I'd bought her in a store in Portland where the clerk called us, "You two," like we were a story she wanted to root for. We stood awkwardly with a pin between us and a clerk with a stapler that sounded like resolution. "I don't hate you," she said. "I don't either," I said. "I just wanted the future," she said. "Me too," I said. "I just wanted it to be honest." She smiled like the end of a song. "Modern without the honesty is just decor," she said. "You were right. You always wanted the building to stand." "I wanted the windows open," I said. "But the nails driven." We hugged, which is a word that hardly ever describes what happens in a good one. This one was brief and true. We said goodbye without the fireworks you think TV owes you. We walked in opposite directions and I didn't turn to see if she did. That night, I propped a canvas on the easel and drew a small room with a single lamp and a window with a slice of moon and a coffee cup steaming like a quiet church. In the corner, I wrote a sentence. "I'll never sell. The modern I want is the one where the truth fits in the light." People ask me because people ask the internet all sorts of intimate things if open relationships are bad. That's like asking if hammers are bad. It depends on what you're building and who's holding it. If you want to use new words, good. Use them the way street signs are used, to get somewhere you had the courage to name before you started walking. I still see Lena sometimes. Seattle is a small town pretending to be a city. We nod on Pike. We smile at the farmer's market. We stand in the same line at the same coffee shop without making the joke about me cheating with beans. Her wrist is bare. My pocket is light. We are two honest nouns now, not one complicated metaphor. I sleep. I wake. I grind beans in the studio and let the scent climb the stairs and mix with the morning like a promise that doesn't need a contract. I draw. I hand a cappuccino down the narrow window ledge to the guy who calls it a cap, and he says, "You're a saint." And I say no, and we laugh like the world's not on fire for a second. If you've been sold a word like openness and handed a lie with glitter on it, I'm sorry. If you're trying to figure out where care ends and control begins, write it down. If the person you love won't write it, learn to love your own handwriting. 2 questions. If you're still here, where's the line between modern and honest in your life, and what does it cost you to pretend you can't see it? If a partner asks you to trust a new word without telling the old truth, would you still call it love? If this story hits somewhere real for you, leave a comment and subscribe. Your take helps keep the lights on in here.